US GAAP is the set of standardized accounting rules and practices that companies follow when preparing financial statements. These principles ensure consistency and transparency in financial reporting. For SEC filings, US GAAP reports are submitted as HTML files, with inline XBRL as the core technology. In this tutorial, we will show you how to tag US GAAP data using Altova XBRL tagging. We will deal with tables, text values, and text blocks. Let's start by adding our fictional company and providing its details. First, we need to fill in the central index key. Then we will supply the name of the company. If the company is public, then enter the stock ticker symbol here, and it will be used in the name of the exported report. Otherwise, leave this field blank. The reporting language and currency are filled in by default. We have supplied all the details and now we can add our company. We are now ready to add our US GAAP report. You can see a lot of formats in this dialog. The report may reference some files that you can upload separately. Let's select our report files. We are about to import the report files which were created by our company and to which we will apply XBRL tagging. You can also drag your files. The dialog also prompts us to select the root document. This is the actual report we will be tagging. We also need our company's extension taxonomy. Please bear in mind that the current version of our software requires an existing extension taxonomy. Future versions will allow creating an extension taxonomy if it doesn't exist. Now let's take a closer look at these files. The XSD file, also known as the schema, defines the structure of our extension taxonomy. It acts as the main entry point for the report. Besides, we have several XML files. These are known as link bases. They define different types of relationships between taxonomy concepts, how these concepts are presented and calculated, what they mean in plain language, and how they relate dimensionally. Let's import this extension taxonomy. Our document is an annual report, so the submission type will remain unchanged. Now let's apply the start date of the report. And as you can see, the end date is filled in automatically. That's very convenient. The reporting language is already pre-filled. The transformation registry defines how to convert human-readable content, like numbers, dates, and percentages, into the correct machine-readable format for XBRL. The default value is ext4. This is the recommended version and we will leave it as is. The next step is to set the fact defaults that will apply to all facts in the report. The reporting currency has already been filled in. Now let's move on to the next property. Numeric values are often scaled to be more readable. Scale tells the processor to multiply the displayed value by 10 raised to the power of the scale value, which may be positive, negative, or 0. For our report, we'll use a scale factor of 6, which means the displayed number must be multiplied by 1,000,000. Accuracy is controlled by the decimals attribute in XBRL and indicates the number of decimal places to which a numeric fact is known to be correct, usually as a result of rounding or truncation. For our report, we'll use -6, which means a numeric fact is rounded to and accurate to the nearest million. And the last setting we need to configure is the monetary fact format. It specifies the character used for the decimal separator. In our report, the format is num.decimal, which means the dot is used as a decimal separator. Let's click Add to upload the report. The report has been uploaded successfully, and we can start tagging it. First, let's take a look at the Link Roles tab. Link roles organize taxonomy relationships into meaningful groups, such as statements and notes. These groups represent key sections of a financial report, and we must tag facts within them. The link roles and their associated concepts are defined in the taxonomy files. For example, we want to tag the cover page. We need to find this section in the report and start tagging it. The first step is to define a region for this page. We will switch to the Region tab and click the button Add Region. Next, we need to define the borders of the region. For demonstration purposes, we will make it smaller than the actual cover page. After that, we need to select the region and assign the appropriate section to it. The biggest advantage of this approach is that we define this property only once at region level, and all facts in this region will inherit the section automatically. Now we can tag, for example, the type of the report. Let's select this piece of text and then search for the corresponding fact. The fact is highlighted in blue, which means it's tagged. And as you can see, the section is already defined in the properties. Let's also tag these two checkboxes. It is important to note that the IXC4 transformation registry can't handle such values. That's why we need to change it. After that, we will select the appropriate format. The value has been transformed correctly. Let's do the same for the second checkbox. In addition to tagging individual text values, we can also tag entire text blocks with nested values. For example, let's work on the section called Cybersecurity. Tagging text values and blocks is quite flexible, and we will show you one of the possible approaches. Let's first select a piece of text and make a region out of it. Then we will click on this region and assign the relevant section of the report in the properties. Since the region coincides with the text block we want to tag, we will show you a very useful feature. Let's click the button Select Text. This causes all the text inside the region to be selected. You can also do this via the region pop-up. Now let's insert the concept. Actually, this text block has several nested values. For demonstration purposes, we will tag only one of them. We will select this piece of text and then assign the appropriate concept. Since the concept is of type Boolean and the value is true, we need to set the format to fixed true. Our next task is to tag tables. For example, let's work on the consolidated statements of operations. Let's click somewhere in the table. This causes a pop-up to appear. We will use the automatic table detection feature. Next, we must specify the section of the report this data belongs to. Before tagging the data, let's check if the concepts and periods have been identified correctly. Everything looks very good. The next step is to hover over the table region and click Add Facts. After that, we need to decide if we want to tag non-numeric values. We have two dashes that need to be reported as 0. That's why we will choose Yes in the dialog. Now that the table is tagged, let's click on some fact to see its properties. Since we need to report these dashes as 0, we will change their numeric format. And we will do the same for the second dash. Actually, in this table, there is one fact that has a footnote. Let's see how easy it is to tag footnotes. First, we need to select this piece of text. Second, we will switch to the Footnote tab in the pop-up. Then we will give the footnote a descriptive name. The next step is to click the fact with the footnote and select the footnote in the Properties pane. The footnote is now successfully linked to this fact. Now let's work on the equity table. This is a complex table structure that has the following peculiarities. There are line items. There are also 4 reporting years, and for each period the list of financial activities varies. Besides, this table has a dimension defined in the taxonomy files. The dimension consists of various equity components. These are known as dimension members. So unlike simple tables, almost each fact in this table will have a concept, a dimension member, and a date or a period. Another interesting peculiarity is that each fact in the shares column has a distinct concept, as opposed to all the other facts in the same row. Processing such complex structures might be challenging in other tools, but with Altova XBRL tagging, such tasks are quick and easy, thanks to our software's flexibility. To tackle such data, we will use the combination of automatic table detection and manual tagging. Let's click some cell in this table, then switch to the detection mode, and select the equity section. Next, we will check the concepts. Unfortunately, not all of them have been recognized correctly. Concepts are assigned in the order of schema definition, and this order may not correspond to the order in the table, but we can easily fix this right in the pop-up. For each line item, we will assign the concept that represents the majority of facts. As for the shares column, we will get back to it a bit later. All the concepts are now correct. The next step is to assign an appropriate data period to each line item. As for these line items, all of them have the same period. To save some time, we will define a region for these line items and assign the relevant period to it. Since we are going to tag only these facts, our region will be smaller than the width of the table. Next, we need to select the region and assign the period to it. We will follow the same steps for the rest of the table. We already have very good results. Now we can move on to the components of equity. We can see that the first equity component is divided into 2 column regions. Instead, we need to make only 1 column region and assign 1 dimension member. Let's delete the second column region and extend the first region to include 2 columns. The next step is to assign the appropriate dimension members. Let's continue assigning all the other members. Since the total equity is not a dimension member, we must make sure there is no dimension assignment on this column. The table is now ready to be tagged. We need to decide whether to tag non-numeric cells. The majority of dashes we have in this table mean there is no data available. We need to tag only 4 dashes that we will set to 0. So we will click No in the dialog, and then we will tag these 4 dashes manually. Let's select the first dash and click Add. A new fact has just been created. We also need to change the numeric format of this fact. The fact is now set to 0, and as you can see, all the other properties are also correct. Let's do the same for all the other dashes. And the last step is to change the concepts of the facts in the shares column. Let's do the same for the rest of the column. The tagging of the report is now complete. We have demonstrated the most common aspects of tagging US GAAP data. Now it's time to export the report. During export, the data is validated, and relevant information is displayed in the Messages window. If there are some issues, you can always go back to your report, revise your data, and export the report again. For more information about Altova XBRL tagging, please visit xbrl-tagging.com.